Well, good afternoon. I want to just give you a special thanks for being here on what I think is one of the most beautiful days that we have had in Atlanta this summer. So, the people in this room at CFA are certainly dedicated because I will share with you that I paused for a minute before I came into the room and enjoyed every last bit of this beautiful summer day. I am Kasim Reed. I'm a Georgia State Senator today. And for the past 11 years, I have had the distinct pleasure and honor to represent the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, and a part of Douglas County at the Georgia General Assembly. But my heart has always been with Atlanta, and I have worked tirelessly at the Capitol, really to be a champion for the capital city. You know, it wasn't very long ago, about 2002, when our city's water system was on the verge of receivership. And we were having very serious conversations at the highest levels of government, including people like Councilman C.T. Martin today, about whether or not the city of Atlanta would literally turn over its water system to the federal government because of the onerous fines that we were facing as a result of the consent decrees from 1998 and 1999. Well, I was in the room when that occurred, and I was asked to be a part of the solution. We actually had to have two efforts. The first effort was a countywide effort where we tried to levy a 1% sales tax countywide and failed. And then we went back in the second year, and I co authored the legislation that provided $500 million in low interest loans using the state of Georgia's AAA credit rating and provided for the 1% most that we now use to fund our water and sewer. Seems like a distant memory now, but as a result, more than 40% of the burden for the cost of the city of Atlanta's water and infrastructure is borne by people who come into our city and use it every day. And I will tell you, while many people may not remember it now, it was tough to get done. But I worked with Eric Johnson at that time, who was the president of the Senate, and I worked with then chair of the Finance Committee, Casey Cagle, and we got it done. The reason that I share that is we're going to have a lot of conversations about water and sewer and wastewater and all the rest. And what I want you to know is when there were hard decisions to be made, I was prepared to do hard work. You know, recently our city was facing a challenge with the funding for its Beltline, Councilman Morris. And we had the provision that was related to the TAD struck down by the Georgia Supreme Court that literally would have eliminated about half of the funding for the tax allocation district. Once again, I worked with my Republican colleagues and sponsored the constitutional amendment that allowed restoration of the funding for tax allocation districts in our city, which I believe will have a significant impact on the Beltline. When our superintendent was having challenges in the ethics space, she came and asked me to reconstitute the work of the Atlanta School Board. And I changed the structure so that now the CFO and the General Counsel report to Superintendent Beverly Hall. It was tough to do at the time, but let me tell you why it's important to our conversation today. Prior to that change, we had four superintendents, Lynn, in about 8 years. After that change and after the ethics reforms that I carried through the General Assembly, we've had one superintendent and rising test scores and a school system that has been nationally praised in the last 24 months. You might be saying, what does all this have to do with water and sewer and police and fire and all of the rest? What it has to do with is a record that shows that I can work in a bipartisan fashion on very hard issues for the people of Atlanta and get concrete results that I deliver for the city. And I will tell you, if you allow me to be your mayor and if you support my campaign, I will continue to get those kind of results for you. So as it relates to issues such as wastewater, as it relates to our police and our firefighters who I am wholly committed to, and as it relates to our infrastructure and how we treat our citizens, I am prepared to lead. And I have the strength to get us through what we all know are some of the most difficult times that we have ever faced. With that, I thank you once again for being